we are Anchor. You can support us with the Super Thanks button below.
It seems that the second year of the Russia-Ukraine war will witness very violent clashes. While the Russian army is losing the gains it made in the first days of its occupation of Ukraine, one by one, the rise of the Ukrainian army attracts the attention of the whole world. The Russian invaders suffered heavy losses in the face of the Ukrainian army, which was strengthened with the support of Western and European countries. The spring offensive, for which the Ukrainian army has been preparing extensively and which has been on the agenda for a long time, seems to have started these days, because the number of equipment such as tanks, helicopters, and drones lost by the Russian army has increased significantly in recent days. For the last few months, senior commanders and state officials in the Ukrainian army have been making statements about the spring offensive, which aims to completely push the invading Russian army out of Ukrainian territory. Recently, Alexei Danilov, Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine, made striking statements in an interview with the Ukrainian media agency. Danilov said that it is only a matter of time before the spring offensive begins. Danilov stated that ammunition and heavy armored vehicle aids from Ukraine's allies reached the army for the attack to be launched against the Russian invaders. He also said that the Ukrainian army soldiers who will take part in the spring offensive are undergoing extensive training. This training was mainly on the use of equipment delivered to the Ukrainian army with the help of Western and European countries. What Danilov said about weapons and ammunition was related to preparations for the spring offensive. The interviewer, a Ukrainian reporter, asked a question about the general stock of the ammunition in the Ukrainian army. Danilov did not give a detailed answer to this question, but his answer was very clear with his belief in victory. Danilov said that the Ukrainian army's ammunition will be enough to restrain Russia. Saying that the Ukrainian army is working around the clock, including Saturday and Sunday, for the spring offensive, Danilov said there are no holidays in war. It is only a matter of time. This time, it comes at a very high price for us. About 10 days after Danilov's statements, the Ukrainian army attacked several points where the Russian invaders were located. While some of the images of these attacks were shared on personal social media accounts, some of them were shared on the social media accounts of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. In the images shared by the General Staff the other day, it was clearly seen that the tanks of the Russian invaders were blown up. In the post, it was stated that the Ukrainian Special Operations Forces were ordered to destroy the mines in their area. In accordance with this order, Ukrainian Special Operations personnel successfully cleared the mines in the area before blowing up the Russian tanks. The next target was the tanks of the Russian occupiers. Ukrainian Special Operations Forces destroyed the Russian invaders' BMP-1 tanks with missile systems. It is seen that the explosions recorded on video were very violent, so much that a ball of flame appears when the missiles hit the tanks. Then, the clouds of smoke rising to the sky clearly reveal the severity of the explosions. Allegedly, Ukrainian Special Operations Forces captured important documents, weapons, and radios belonging to the Russian invaders as a result of this attack. The Russian army not only lost tanks and soldiers, at the same time, the captured walkie-talkies provided information about the communication between the soldiers of the Russian army. The Russian military documents also contain a lot of important information. In the minutes when Ukrainian Special Operations Forces targeted Russian tanks, Russian sources made a statement. According to this statement, a drone belonging to the Ukrainian army was shot down on the borders of Moscow. The drone, which allegedly crashed in a village in Moscow Oblast, was claimed to be similar to the Ukrainian UJ-22. The claim was made by Georgy Ravishvili, a former senior advisor to the Georgian National Security Council. Contrary to what Russian officials claim, Ukraine has not claimed responsibility for the downed drone. With this claim, the Russian authorities revealed a truth. This statement was an expression of Russia's failure in its invasion of Ukraine. Because the downing of a Ukrainian drone in the central region of Russia showed Ukraine's success. This was proof that the Ukrainian army had overcome the occupied territories and reached Russian territory. It is clear to the whole world that Russia has recently suffered a major setback. Authorized figures from many countries are making statements about Russia's failure in the war. One of these names is Kurt Volker. Volker is a diplomat who advised US President Trump on Ukraine between 2017 and 2019. According to Volker, the Russian army can no longer advance. In an interview with a media company, Kurt Volker, former United States Special Envoy for Ukraine negotiations, made striking statements about Russia's decline vis-à-vis Ukraine. Volker said the following: "Firstly, we all overestimated Russia's military capabilities, and we underestimated Ukraine's capabilities. We saw a phenomenon where Russian intelligence services were misleading Putin, and we were misled as well. There was a lot more corruption, inefficiencies, and poor leadership in the system. Russia did make initial substantial advances in eastern Ukraine and towards Kiev, but now Ukrainians have pushed them back. The fighting has not moved since Ukraine took back Kherson last autumn. The Russians are not really capable of advancing anymore. We know they are trying to recruit more people. We know they are trying to get equipment from Iran and North Korea. We know their military is in a bad shape on the ground, and they don't have the means to replenish. They also don't have good leadership, so it really is a mess." The Russian army, which is about to be exhausted, may be completely exhausted in the face of the spring offensive that the Ukrainian army may carry out at any moment. Because although there has been no announcement of the start of the offensive yet, the Ukrainian army has cornered the invaders. Targeting tanks and unmanned aerial vehicles, the Ukrainian army also shot down the Mi-24 helicopter belonging to the Russian invaders the other day. The Ukrainian General Staff announced this development as follows: "Good evening news. Today our soldiers shot down one enemy Mi-24 helicopter and 4 drones, 2 reconnaissance, Orlan 10 and Zala, as well as 2 kamikaze drones of the Lancet type." The Ukrainian army, along with the Russian invaders' equipment such as tanks, drones, helicopters, and etc., is also destroying the occupying troops' deployment areas, military bases, training centers, assembly areas, and ammunition depots. The destruction of all these areas leaves the Russian army in a difficult situation. Already suffering from a shortage of military personnel and ammunition, the Russian army suffered a major setback even before the Ukrainian army's spring offensive. One wonders what Putin will do in the face of this setback. According to many war analysts, Putin may wave the white flag in the face of the Ukrainian army's spring offensive. What do you think will happen after the Ukrainian army's spring offensive? Will the Russian army be able to compensate for its losses? What are your thoughts on the course of the war? We are curious about your thoughts. Follow us for more updates.
All rights to these videos belong to Anka Daily News YouTube channel. Our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook usernames are @AnkaDailyNews. Do not rely on any other social media publications. We legally fight all websites and channels that use it without our permission.